But I can tell you, there was a long time when without my checkbook, the light would have cut off at HQ. The phone would have cut off. 2008, that contest at Arena, when we got there, they wouldn't let us in because they said money had been owed from the previous year. Is my personal check for over $1 million was drawn to allow the contest to take place that day. These are things that I probably have not said before publicly. But if them want to face it with me, then I'm going to give them facts and tell them how it really goes. Or as Roger Clark would have said, now them going to find out how water walk pumpkin belly.
Central Manchester MP Peter Murcott Bunting, he says that the PNP needs a new leader. He's not looking around over his shoulder or anywhere else. He says, I am the one. He's my guest today on The Conversation. Welcome again, Mr. Bunting. Obviously, the place to start is, what is it in your time contemplating that you've seen the PNP to consistently lack that has placed you in this position today as a man about to challenge for the leadership of the party?
Well, I didn't come to this decision lightly. I did what I think is a fairly clinical analysis. You know, I'm an engineer by training. And I started with the findings of the appraisal report. You remember Julian Robinson chaired a committee right after the 2016 election loss, which identified the causes or the deficiencies in the party organization that led to the loss. And when we lost the East Portland by-election, I dusted off that report and I brought it out and I compared our performance in 2016 and the findings with our 2019 by-election performance. And essentially the same deficiencies that existed 3 years ago existed now. And I said, you know, this is not good. This is an organization that's not learning, that's not prioritizing, not addressing its deficiencies, and therefore it's going to continue getting the outcomes that we're getting now. The second thing is, when I went on the ground after East Portland, you could hardly move in any group of comrades. And the conversation was, what are you guys doing? We love Peter Phillips, but he's not the man for now, in time pass. And for whatever reason, he was just not getting that traction, and the base of the party wasn't energized. We looked at some polls that Donna Anderson had done, first for one of the media houses, then we also commissioned one ourselves, or I commissioned one.
Yes.
And, you know, it was clear from the polls that, you know, we were in a deep hole. So, all things considered, I said, you know, whenever the party has been in a position that that I felt I could help, I've offered myself. I've never, before today, contested for a position in the party.
You never had to?
I never had to. Usually it was because I was going for something that wasn't very attractive.
Poison chalices, general secretary at a bad time, so forth.
Exactly, after an election, lost Southeast Clarendon that had never been won by the PNP in history. You know, when I went in the last minute in central Manchester, it was thought we were, you know, maybe 10 or 12 points behind.
Yes.
So I've never really had to contest for a position. So this is one of those times when I think I have a skill set that I can bring to the table. You know, my background is, you know, in private sector management, but also as general secretary, I approach things by doing a strategic analysis, then a plan, and then execute. So assess where we are, evaluate where we are today, plan how you're going to address, move you from where you are to where you need to be competitive electorally, and then execute that plan. And that is the process that I've entered upon.
You said that after East Portland that people on the ground said, will ask, what is happening because there is no energy at the base of the party. Is it that those comments came to you, or you sought after a reaction or a response to what happened in East Portland?
No, quite the contrary. I couldn't avoid those comments. And it wasn't just my experience, speaking to councillors, speaking to colleagues. That was a common experience on the ground. So,
parliamentary colleagues?
Parliamentary colleagues, yes. Councillor, local government yes. colleagues. So it was important that it couldn't. You see, there's a thing called a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people feel that they won't win, chances are they won't. If yes. they feel the party can't win, then they're not going to put out that extra effort. The donors are going to say, but why bother donate to a party that is a lost cause, or an effort that's a lost cause? The whole energy is not going to be there. So it's important not to let this sort of fatalism set in and take root. Yeah. I think you have to shake up the system now. I think this challenge is going to energize the base and inject a sense of purpose in the People's National Party.
You said something in 2009 that I wrote down, to quote precisely to you. Of course, you recall that day when you went to Facebook, you made this tweet about insanity, and it set the media alight, and then you deleted that, and then you posted something which I found to be more interesting than the Einstein tweet. A genuine leader is not a sourcer of consensus, but a molder of consensus. So Peter Phillips was what, or is what?
Peter has made a great contribution to politics and public service over the last 30 years.
Fact.
And I don't think we should take anything away from that. But I think he's just not seen as the leader for this time. And my own observation is that I think perhaps he needed to be much more transformational and decisive in his approach to stamping his style.
Hold on.
And his...
You said, you're going to come back, you said that he's not seen as a leader for this time. But that's different from saying he's not a leader for this time. Is he a leader for this time? Well, because he can be something, but he's not being seen for what he really is, for whatever factor, or for whatever set of factors.
Unfortunately, in politics, perception is often reality. If whatever skills you may have, if you can't get elected and get an opportunity to demonstrate them, then they're in a sense wasted. So the politics is a lot about communication, about convincing people, persuading them that you have the capability to deliver a platform that speaks to their hopes and dreams.
Yes.
So if after 2.5 years you have been unable to get any traction in that regard, and there's no sort of initiative underway that you can say, okay, when this is finished, or when this, takes root, it's going to have an impact, then it's going to be very difficult in perhaps a year to a year and a half that's left before an election to credibly say, I'm starting something now. I just don't see that happening. I think there is a better opportunity for somebody coming in fresh. There will be an expectation of change. There will be an expectation not of tweaking at the margins, but of shaking up the system and making a real difference.
Before you embarked on this public exercise to build momentum for your campaign, and of course to tell the public that this is the direction you're going in, you called Peter Phillips, I assume. What did he say when you told him that, leader, I'm going to challenge you?
Well, we had a discussion a couple of weeks before, and I think, we had a frank discussion. He understood that this was being contemplated. I told him that I would make a decision by a certain time. In between, we spoke again by phone, and on Saturday, I sent him my letter out confirming the approach I was taking and setting out my reasons, assuring him of my, continued respect and regard. And we confirmed via WhatsApp that I had sent the letter so that I knew he had received it.
Oftentimes in the kind of politics we practice, Mr. Bunting, it is as if once you're challenging for the leadership, it is because you want to replace a crap boss, a rubbish boss. You've made it clear that that is not the case, because Peter Phillips, Dr. Peter Phillips, is an outstanding Jamaican and has been an outstanding servant of the politics and of the governance process. But at the same time, you're saying that notwithstanding his glowing qualities, he's not the man for the PNP in the 21st century at this stage.
That's my judgment, yes.
All right, on that point, we take the first break. We come back with much more. Speaking with Central Manchester MP Peter Bunting, talking about his challenge for the leadership of the People's National Party in Jamaica.